Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a little bit of Ardias today. Ardias. More likely Ardias. Playing as the Force Commander. No idea what Ardias means. Who is Ardias? Is that a person? Or is that a word that I'm familiar with? He's going to be facing off against the war boss of Arthur Cloud. Arthur, you know, it really triggers me, the fact that you don't have capitalization in your A. It just looks... It's really fucking up my eyes, actually. The A and the R and the T being horizontal. It almost looks like Cyrillic, and it is destroying my mind. Can you fix, please? And Ardias is not going for a double scout, which is probably going to be kind of tricky for him, actually, since he's facing a war boss. So, you know, you typically want the high speed burst scouts. Just another unit to pew this guy down early on. Or this happens, he just charges at the attacks, and then you've got your scouts with their terrible damage bolters trying to contribute, and there's just not enough pew. I would say it's a little bit of a mistake for Arthur to commit so heavily with his war boss on his own, because as you can see, the war boss himself not doing a tremendous amount of damage himself, he's more of a tank. I mean, at least fighting Space Marines. If the war boss was fighting shooter boys and slugger boys, he'd kill them quite quickly, but... Yeah, so now the Force Commander just immediately routes to shooter boys. Oh, and now the war boss just retreats as well, and look at the damage he did, not a lot. So the war boss is your tank, and you want to get your damage from your boys. It's tricky. You want the double shooters to blob together to deal with the Force Commander. I'd probably have just zoned out the attacks with the war boss. You could just keep the war boss here, and then, you know, the attacks can't move down. And shoot the shooters so they get the cap, and then you can rotate the war boss around and help a bit with the Force Commander, delay him with a stomp. Obviously he's not going to get knocked over because he can activate Battle Cry, but I just feel like pushing him in like that, it doesn't really generate much value, and you just lose your war boss. Now of course sluggers the whole time are capping. That's pretty decent because you don't have much of an alternative, so you could cap with shooters, but then you're only going to have one shooter to deal with the Force Commander, so he's basically just going to charge at that shooter. So you lose either way, because really you want the sluggers around with your war boss, because the war boss tanks the sluggers, and then the tanks actually get killed by the sluggers, because the sluggers do a lot of damage. So Ardias is going to go for double tacks, and that's going to be quite tricky for Arthur, because for some reason he has decided his first purchase this game is going to be double big shooters on his shooter boys. Now, double big shooters is good against the FC, but he could counter it with really any of his own upgrades that give him durability or mobility. I actually think against double shooters without their knobs, I'd be going Armour of Alacrity to get sprint and to just get into melee with them super fast. But they also get countered by Tactical Marines, who can just sit in cover and out-trade them quite easily. The big shooters are much better against scout heavy builds, but Ardias only went for one scout, and he hasn't upgraded it at all. As you can see here, it's over there capping the side of the map. He's just using that for a little bit of map control. So the shooters here are a bit strange. And now we've got the Force Commander getting into melee with the sluggers. You've got a little bit of pew coming in from the tanks. The other tanks are getting out of the building here. That was a nice aiming, what's that? Quite lucky actually. Oh, he's got his sluggers in range stance. That's a mistake. He actually should have got a lot of hits in there while the Force Commander was recovering from his being knocked over. We got lucky that he got the knockback, because that was from a special attack from the war boss. I thought it was a stomp. Aiming what's that into a stomp can be an effective little combo. Hey, there you go! Nice little stomp, although the shooters are not really in the best spot. I don't know why the shooters ran into melee, that was a bit odd. I guess they wanted to run behind the war boss to sort of bait the attacks into the stomp, but probably going to be a lost engagement from Arthur, because it's going to take too long for the war boss to deal with these ASM now, and they're going to just output crazy damage onto the shooters. Well, not crazy damage, they're not fucking Hormagaunts, are they? But still ASM. Space Marines renowned for being both the most durable faction, but also the lowest damage faction. Good play here by Ardias. Going to decap that wreck and retreat out. Probably not even going to lose a model. ASM not actually doing that much damage, but then again they didn't take that much damage either. What have they killed here? They only got one boy. Wow, that's lucky for Arthur. Look at this. He's on like half HP with his shooter boys, and he hasn't even lost a model. But now we've got the healed Force Commander and attacks coming back out. War boss needs to be really careful. Fortunately for Arthur, the ASM do not have energy for a jump, or they could have potentially jumped into retreat and killed this guy. It's a terrible spot for the Storm Boys with the battle cry and the ASM coming in, and just a whole lot of focus fire. The double tacks and the scouts were all shooting those Storm Boys. They need a bit of support. So again, Arthur pushed super deep there, and he lost loads of map control for it. The scouts were free basically to cap all this side and even decap his natural. Furthermore, he had no units dedicated to taking back this area. Now, on the plus side, what he was doing there with all that aggression is he was stopping the gens from being built over here. I feel like the sluggers should win this. They've got their burners, so they've got extra damage. Why is he retreating? What are you doing? No, he misclicked. Man, he let the ASM get loads of free hits in there. Yeah, the sluggers are going to win that. Wow, that was without a Warboss Global. Damn, why does Arthur have no red? Oh, he does. He does have red. Okay, but now he might lose the sluggers. It would have been an idea to drop Ardboys on them earlier. I think if you drop it now, it's not even going to matter. They're going to die anyway. Oh, wow, maybe not. Oh, wow. Yeah, Ardboys would have saved that Slugger Boy even when I said it, which was late because my brain thought to do it a lot earlier than I could have actually spoke it to you guys. So yeah, that was a big misplay from both players, of course. I don't know why Ardias thought he would win that fight. His ASM went full health. I think if they're full health and they get the jump on the sluggers, they probably do win. But it'll be a close scrap. It might depend on the amount of specials the ASM can proc. You know, I think it will be over 50% that the ASM win, but it might be like an 80-20 thing. It's not like a guaranteed victory. So, if you don't have full HP on your ASM, which you didn't there, and you jump them in, they're not going to do well. I think maybe Ardias undervalued the impact that the burner upgrade has. It's pretty huge on the sluggers. Because not only is it giving you, what is it, 15% more HP, or is it 10%? I can't remember. It's giving you a flat HP boost, but then it's also giving power melee to 2 of the models. So that is 2 of the models out of 6 are doing 30% more damage. It's, yeah, you know, decent overall HP and damage buff. But fortunately for Ardias, Arthur thrown anyway. And kept his sluggers in way too long there. Without saving them with Ardboys. Of course, he could have used UG choppers, and he would have just won that fight a lot easier as well.
Understood.
So it wasn't a bad series of engagements. I mean, I have to be honest, I really don't think the shooters have done anything this game. All I've really seen them do is bleed. I feel like if Arthur just had triple sluggers, this would have been going way better for him. Because if you think about the times when he's been using the shooters, he's had them like within melee range anyway. But it's a problem of the build. Like I said, double tacks literally counter shooters. You counter the tacks with melee, not with ranged. Normally, Space Marines would go for double scouts and they'd be getting lots of shotguns and sergeants, in which case you want the shooters to deal with those scouts. But Ardias hasn't done that. So investing into your shooters straight away, very odd. We do see some Ardboys here, and this is nice. I'm a little bit confused as to where the battle cry is from the Force Commander. You can see that, wow, the power melee of the Storm Boys there, just absolutely ripping those tacks to pieces. And that's why Storm Boys are really invaluable in this matchup. Yes, they're relatively squishy, given the fact that they bleed power when you lose models, but the sheer damage potential that you get from a squad of Storm Boys, because all them boys do power melee, it's insane versus Space Marines. You've got to have them. And then getting the stun on landing in tier 2 when they have melee is a nice little bonus.
Understood. The enemy is capturing one.
Not very useful against a Razorback, can be good against an Assault Cannon, Dreadnought. So Ardias is going to call down the Tactical Marines from the drop pod here, instantly getting them a Sergeant, presumably going to be going for some Stern Guard. Indeed he does. He's got a good amount of resources. I wonder, he's probably going to be saving up for a Dreadnought, because he could have a Razorback on the way if he wanted that. Look, the Assault Cannon Dreadnought is very good against Orcs in general. The Barrage can wipe squads in retreat, and each burst of normal fire is often going to be giving boys. But against a Warboss, I'd be very, very skeptical of that. With the Power Claw, angry bits to get his charge, which also gives him a damage boost and HP regen. And his spiky armor to maximize his durability in tier 1 and tier 2. The war boss, honestly, well, he can 1v1 Dreadnoughts with his globals. So I wouldn't like to go for that. And certainly with a Death Dread coming out as well, that would be problematic. I don't think a melee Dreadnought is that good. Though actually it could have quite a bit of utility here, because Ardias's ranged composition is so much stronger than Arthur's. So typically in order to defeat the Tactical Marines hugging cover in tier 2 as an orc, you get the Weird Boy. And then you've got the knockback, and you can just defeat them with the Weird Boy and the shooters by knocking them out of cover and stopping them shooting. But he's going to go for the Death Dread first. He might follow up with a Weird Boy, we'll see. As it stands without the Weird Boy, Ardias is going to be able to just sit and shoot Arthur to pieces, and that's why Arthur needs to utilise his melee assets like the Stormboy here and the War Boss. Force Commander here grabbed the Thunder Hammer. That's going to be a really useful counter-initiation tool. So if he keeps the Force Commander nearby to his Stern Guard and attacks, he can activate that Battle Cry. He's got 360 degrees tracking specials. Oh, that's a brutal grenade. Nice grenade, wow. These are with one model. So yeah, this Force Commander should be guarding the Stern Guard as your highest DPS and most valuable ranged asset, which is why I find the melee Dreadnought a bit weird. Now let's say he was playing Tech Marine. The melee Dreadnought would make a lot of sense, because you can't get the counter-initiation tool of the Thunder Hammer if you're playing the Tech Marine. You can go Power Axe on the Tech Marine, but it's not guaranteed specials, and they sure as hell, even when they do special, are not knocking people over 360 degrees. So it's not the same thing. So if you were the Tech Marine, you could have Mark Target to debuff the Stormboy's damage resistance when they jump in, and then you dominate the ranged fight with the Tech Marine Bolt, the Tax, and the Stern Guard, and then the Dreadnought can counter-initiate the Stormboys when they jump in. But Ardias doesn't need that, because he's already got the Force Commander. You've just seen in this fight here, the value of him immediately deterred those orcs, because they can't do anything if they're near him when he's got his Battle Cry active. Which is why I wonder, is he going for an Assault Cannon? But if he goes for an Assault Cannon, then he's going to lose his melee resist, and then he's going to be vulnerable to the Death Dread, which will be able to beat the Dreadnought one-on-one. Not to mention there is a War Boss who can also contribute to chopping up a ranged Dreadnought. So maybe for now we're just going to see 2 melee counter-initiation assets, but I really feel like that is overcommitment to that job, and a squad of Tank Busters, or even a Beamy Looter in combination with an upgraded heavy melee War Boss could be problematic. Now Arthur's got a pretty good situation here. A bit of mismicro on his behalf. So the shooters here were shooting at the Stern Guard a lot when they definitely should have been hitting the Force Commander. This is a terrible spot for the Stormboys. I have no idea why they jumped in. Surely Arthur's seen the Dreadnought. Maybe he didn't. Okay, are they going to get out alive? It's hard to say with the damage over time from the Stern Guard coming in, especially when the Stern Guard damage is buffed by the Dreadnought. But indeed they will live, and all this time Arthur was also capping this side of the map and also bashing with the Death Dread. And the Death Dread was successful in that bash. I'm going to take out the drop pod now too, yay, more XP. So the Dreadnought's going to rotate over. The Dreadnought for now does have his melee loadout, so we'll be able to beat the Death Dread 1v1. You can see the difference down there in the bottom right between the 2 HP values of these walkers. Going to be costly to reinforce all these Stormboys. That was a big mistake by Arthur. Oh, I just realised he went for double Stormboys as well. Lol. I was thinking this side capping unit was his sluggers, but no, of course he lost his sluggers, didn't he? So he's got double Stormboys. I wonder if that was intentional, or if that was Overwatch. Honestly, it's not a terrible idea. You want more melee against Space Marines anyway. And yeah, like I said earlier, Stormboys are great. They're technically not as durable as Slugger Boys, and unlike Slugger Boys, they bleed power when they lose their models, but they do output more DPS, and they also can fly, guys. They fucking fly. They're orc burbs. If that hasn't got value, then I don't know what does. I mean, look at their wings. Look at their wings, guys. Isn't it amazing? So I don't really know what the plan here is. Both the players are bleeding quite a bit. Not really able to purchase much more. So going to be stuck with these compositions for a while. Looks like we've got a missile launcher here on this tactical marine squad. It's level 2, nearly level 3. It's going to be pretty strong. Maybe you want to drop the For the Emperor on them to get some extra damage there. You've got a lot of red, Mr. Ardias. Defra's going to eat 2 of them missiles and get out of there. It should be okay. Hey, top tier micro here from Alpha Cloud, dodging the grenade, no problem, aiming what's that into the dodge. Ooh, look at this, we've got the power plant on the war boss at last. Not going to be super threatening to the Dreadnought whilst it's got its melee variant, because it's got 40% melee resist. If it picks up an assault cannon, it's going to have 0. Of course, when it's in this mode as well, it's got that Emperor's Fist ability to do that AoE knockback stun damage to enemy melee threats.
Adding support structure.
So Alpha really needs to get a squad of tank busters out, I would say, since he's fighting a melee walker. Having the mobility of tank busters, a unit that doesn't actually need to set up, is very nice. Death Dread tank busters and a Power Claw Warboss, yeah, you'll be able to take on a Dreadnought. Then leave the Storm Boys to deal with. One Storm Boy onto the sterns, one Storm Boy onto the tacks, and the double shooters focus fire the Force Commander. Focus firing the scouts with priority over the Force Commander, because the scouts are easier to focus off. That's how an army versus army fight would look, but how are we going to get an army versus army fight? I don't know. Interesting that he dropped the For the Emperor here onto the Stern Guard, and not the missile launcher. I would definitely put it on the missile launcher. Would have killed it, but maybe it would have brought it under 130 HP, in which case it could then be killed by the next rocket. I just realised now, because Alpha Cloud has double Storm Boys and no Sluggers, he's got no repair support, so it's a pretty tricky comp for Alpha. I don't know why he's walking the Death Dread forward. I mean, is this suicide intentionally? It must be, right? Because he realizes he has no he realizes he has no repairs. But yeah, melee Dreadnought, it's got the damage resist. The Warboss can't take it on. The Warboss also doesn't have his angry bits and his spiky armor, which would buff him quite a bit. So he's going to struggle. You know, he'd have an extra, what is it, 1.5 HP regen per second with the spiky armor, and also, more importantly, like 200 extra max HP. And then with the charge, you get HP regen after you've charged, and you also get like 25% extra damage. So he still wouldn't be able to 1v1 a melee Dreadnought, I don't think, but he'd certainly have done a lot more damage than he did. He also offers a crazy amount of resources, but he didn't... Why is he getting sluggers? Wait, what? Okay. Alpha's clearly confused about his compositions here. This doesn't make any sense at all. Firstly, a Slugger Boy squad is never going to be worth more than a Warboss with a Power Claw right now. He needs to get his Warboss back up, and he needs to get Angry Bits and Spiky Armor on it to contest this Dreadnought. But a bigger priority than that, I would say, is get a squad of Tank Busters. This is a melee Dreadnought that's causing you problems right now. Tank Busters can shoot and run away and kite it. You just... Someone's at the door. Fucking hell. I hope they weren't playing on Halloween. It'd be a nightmare, wouldn't it? So yeah, tank busters would be a priority to actually kill the Dreadnought. After the tank busters are here, you'd want to get your Warboss back up, slap some gear on him, make him scarier and more relevant. Compositionally, you had all the tools you need if you've got tank busters to win these fights. Like I say, double shooters onto the FC, prioritizing the scouts, one Stern Guard onto the Tax, who actually died in that big fight when the Death Dread was killed. So now this is great, because... Wait, Ardias got a las cannon. I don't know when he got that, but... I don't know. It's useless. It doesn't do anything. So now Alpha's actually got a really good comp, apart from the fucking Sluggers, which don't do anything. I don't know why he has Sluggers. It's so weird. And if you wanted to dominate the Stern Guard, certainly if there were Stern Guard and still the Tax left, then you could go for a Weird Boy. But it's kind of map dependent. He doesn't really need it because he can just win in melee with the Storm Boys. Though you would think that would be difficult with the Thunderhammer Force Commander and a Dreadnought, but ultimately... The problem for Ardias right now is he's lost the Tax and he's got a useless squad in the last cannon devs, so he's kind of getting outnumbered in terms of combat effective units. He's got a Librarian, which I find strange. I mean, We'll have to see how it does with the 4 staff here. He's a decent melee fighter, but it doesn't really have a lot of synergy here. It's just like he's got it as a melee sub-commander, which is a bit weird. We'll have to see. I mean, if you think about it, this is some crazy heavy commitment to AV to kill a Death Dread. A last cannon with Veil of Time support from a Librarian, a missile attack, and a Dreadnought. I don't know if you need all that. I would say you probably don't need all that. Got a Beamy Looter now for Arthur Cloud. I definitely would have gone for a Tank Buster squad against a melee walker. I think the Beamy Looter is genuinely better against transports and tanks because the Tank Busters bleed is the problem. The Looters do their full damage regardless of how many models they have. Tank Busters obviously don't. But yeah, this is the problem. Hey, setup team, you can just charge at it with a Dreadnought. At least Tank Busters will be able to kite. Oh wow, so close to losing one of those Storm Boys there, Ad Boys, and the other one is going to do quite well. Got to get in the Stern Guard. I think he could have probably stayed in a little longer there to get on the Stern Guard and get rid of them. Huh.
We have 100 points remaining.
100 points remaining and a triple cap against Ardias. Oh, Librarian's screwed here. He's fighting fully upgraded sluggers with use your choppers. Yeah, so he activates the quickening. He gets 4 seconds of knockback resistance, 90% damage resistance on top of that. And he's going to retreat. He'll be fine. Didn't need to use the fist there, but might as well. There's no other enemies around. Probably have it off cooldown by the time another army versus army fight spawns. Last Cannon needs to get active here. Last Cannon should be capping these points while the Scout repairs. For now, the Scout should get on the VP because the priority right now should be the VPs. He's very low on VPs, is Ardias. Just repair the Dreadnought afterwards. I really think the Scouts there made a bit of a misplay. He needs to be prioritizing this. He's still bleeding VPs. He's down to 37. I don't know why he's so confident that he's going to be able to take the natural here of Arthur. It's Fedrid Folly, so remember, all he needs to do here is hold these 2 VPs. Only 30 VPs left for Ardias. Ardias is going tier 3. Is he not paying attention to the VPs? My guy, I don't know if you've got time to go tier 3 and get a tier 3 unit. Maybe try to hold out until he can drop down Terminators. He doesn't have to wait for the build time if he gets Terminators. He's got the red for them. It's a lot of resources away from being able to afford them though. I don't know how he's going to be able to hold this. He's only got a Force Commander and some Stern Guard. Probably wants to be putting the Force Commander in the green cover now. He's just retreating. How is he going to do this? We even got some Orcs going back down this way. So Ardias is pulling the Dreadnought over to the left-hand side. The Dreadnought should have been there a long time ago because now he's going to lose this VP and now he can't defend this side of the map. I think there was no need to waste the jump there to attack the last devs. Then again, it appears Ardias isn't paying attention, so it's going to wipe the devs. Oh dear. Oh dear. Not that they were contributing too much, but they're a capping unit, aren't they? And, you know, capping's going to be pretty damn important right now. So, we got a 2-0 cap. It's going to soon be a 2-... No, sorry, we've got a 1-0 cap. It's going to soon be a 2-0 cap. You can see, again, the Beamy Looter, they get one shot on the Dreadnought and then have to retreat. Like, there's no point. The Beamy Looter's good against the Razorback because it takes fewer shots to kill a Razorback than a Dreadnought. And Alpha Cloud just mass retreats because he wins on the triple cap. Yeah, big positioning misplays there from Ardias. I don't know why. I don't know. How can I explain the logic? There's no logic there. Look, this is Fedrid Folly. Maybe he just genuinely didn't even notice the VPs. I've been in plenty of games where it's so intense that you don't even realise the VPs are so low until it's too late. This is Fedrid Folly. You always have got to keep in your memory that these 2 VPs here are so close together. If you position your army here, it's very easy to rotate between the 2 and stop the enemy from being able to cap them. Unless they've got something that can infiltrate and cap faster, or something that can teleport and is tanky to get in, get a deep cap, get out, it's going to be super hard. So when you're only on 30 VPs, going tier 3, and not having your whole army over here to defend these 2 VPs, that's very questionable. So, I don't know, there you go. Alpha Cloud takes it. A lot of compositional mistakes, but I hope both the players can watch this and realise those errors. Because honestly, it wasn't too bad in terms of micro in the main fights, actually. I was quite impressed with Ardias. I remember in the early game, all the shift-click capping he did over here, caught the wreck, and immediately retreated out whilst there was a fight going on over here too. So, micro-wise, these players definitely not too bad, actually. Just a lot of macro errors in terms of build order, in terms of positioning, and in terms of just knowing what your opponent is going to do and how to best counter it. But I hope you enjoyed that one, folks. It's going to be all from your boy Torpid this time. I am signing out.